Hello and welcome to WION. You're watching this special broadcast tonight with me, Ramesh Ramachandran. It's been a week of high drama in Chennai, and the weekend has not yet produced a climax. The tussle for power between the SasiKala and OPS camps continues. Over the next half hour, we will break down the story, look at the options the governor is set to be examining and the possible road ahead for AIADMK and politics in the state. Joining me on the panel are Senior Supreme Court Advocate Raju Ramachandran and Senior Journalist T.R. Ramachandran. Also with us is our correspondent Archit Seshadri, who has been tracking the story from the ground in Chennai over the week. We'll come to you in a bit, but before that, a quick recap of the latest. The two leaders addressed contrasting media briefings on Sunday evening, shortly after Sasikala Natarajan made an emotional appeal to her supporters at the Golden Bay Resort in Kuvattur. Selvam addressed the supporters, saying he had been subjected to mental torture all these years. The political drama is far from over. Earlier, Sasikala exuded confidence, saying all MLAs are with her. On Sunday, many more MPs and MLAs joined the Selvam camp.
பத்திரிகை ஊடக நண்பர்களே, நீங்கள் இப்போது பார்க்கிறீர்கள், எங்களுடைய சட்டமன்ற உறுப்பினர்கள் யாரையும் அடைத்து வைக்கவில்லை. நீங்கள் அனைவரும் கண்கூடாக பார்க்கிறீர்கள். ஒரு நல்ல குடும்பமாக இங்கே இருக்கிறார்கள்.
For more on this story, we're now joined by WION's correspondent Archit Seshadri, who joins us from Chennai. Archit, what's the latest? What are the details you can share with us at this moment?
Ramesh, that's right. Good evening to you. You know, quite a bit of action happening in the late hours of Sunday, a week when all of this saga started, exactly a week when Sasikala was elected to be the leader of the AIADMK party. Now, we're being told that in a short moment, Sasikala is on her way back from the Golden Bay Resort, where she'll be addressing the media here at Poe's Garden, talking to the press about what is to be expected in the upcoming week. Now, here's how all of this could pan out. We do understand that she's gone twice to meet those MLAs holed up in that resort, and now sort of a desperate effort to make sure that she is in communication with those MLAs to find out if she truly has the support needed that she has been guaranteeing with the governor, Vidyasagar Rao. So once that Supreme Court verdict comes down this week, that is when all of this could unfold, all of this could pan out. So here's some of the ways that all of this could unfold. If that verdict goes in Sasikala's favor, if you know, everything works out and she is exonerated, then it's an easy win if all of that does happen and she could be sworn in. But if it doesn't, then it goes to somebody else that they will have to nominate. Some of the names being circulated include Dinakaran as well as Sengotian, who could be picked instead of Selvam. So all of that set to unfold later on this week. But right now, what we can tell you is that she spoke to a crowd of reporters at the Golden Bay Resort. She has left and is on her way here, where she'll be addressing the media yet again. So quite an interesting shift in dynamics, where she didn't really talk to the media at all, but then now breaking her silence on more than one occasion, truly saying that she does have the support of the MLAs, as many of them switch sides and go over to the OPS camp.
Indeed, Archit, please stay on while let's get a legal perspective now from Mr. Raju Ramachandran here in the studio. Mr. Ramachandran, what explains this delay? How do you see these developments shaping up like?
There's no legal answer to why there is delay, because the governor, who had several options before him, has chosen the path of least resistance, or perhaps he is a follower of the Narasimha Rao school of thought. Not taking a decision is a decision, and therefore by making himself unavailable, returning late to Chennai, and still not taking any decision. I think he just wants events to play out. He's waiting to see how many people cross over from one side to the other. He wants to wait for the Supreme Court judgment, it appears.
Right.
And so it's very difficult right now to discuss legal options.
Sure. You've spoken about the role of the governor and the considerations that may be weighing on his mind. But let's take a step back and look at the Supreme Court itself. You've had some concerns about this inordinate delay, as it were, in coming to a judgment in the case. So could you just throw some light on that aspect as well?
Yes. Now, this case was heard on an urgent basis, and on such an urgent basis that the hearings spilled over to the summer vacation starting in May 2016, and judgment was reserved on the 7th of June 2016. Now, this concern for fast tracking this case is genuine. And obviously, the court felt that this is a matter which has far-reaching implications for democracy. After all, Jayalalitha had taken over as chief minister with an acquittal in her favor recorded by the Karnataka High Court, and then an appeal pending in the Supreme Court. The idea, I thought, was to give a quietus to this controversy one way or the other. But then judgment didn't come on the reopening of the court in July, not in August, not in September. Last Sunday, SasiKala is elected leader of the legislature party. On Monday, senior counsel for the Karnataka government, which is the prosecutor in this case, tells the court that it is his unpleasant duty to remind the court about the pending judgment, and the court says, please wait for a week. Now, this is disappointing. This is disappointing when, after all, a judgment in a case like this affects democratic governance. And now you find that this delay is being used for political advantage.
Right.
And that causes me dismay as a senior lawyer of the Supreme Court who spent 40 years here.
Sure. I want to bring in Mr. T.R. Ramachandran at this point in time. There we heard Mr. Raju Ramachandran give his take on the events, the legal perspective, the aspects to the issue at hand. But coming to you now, Mr. Ramachandran, is this the end of the road for Sasikala, as it were? And will Paneerselvam have the last laugh? What's your take on the developments, the fast-changing developments in Chennai tonight?
Well, I think if the governor decides to wait till the judgment is out any time this week, and there's no guarantee that it's going to come tomorrow or day after, any time this week, well, I guess you're giving that much more time for people to decide and switch over if they want on the other side to the Paneerselvam side. Well, I think overall this is not a very pleasant game to see. And in any case, we know the IRMs, GAIRMs have become quite common in Indian politics, whether it's the Northeast, whether it is Jharkhand, whether it is Tamil Nadu. But at the end of the day, I think Paneerselvam has somehow managed to catch the imagination of his own supporters and others in the AIADMK. So I really will not be surprised in the ultimate analysis is Paneerselvam is called upon to be the chief minister and prove his majority on the floor of the House.
And where do you see this script going awry, as it were, for Sasikala Natarajan? We saw her first become the general secretary of the party on the 29th, and then she, if you look at the developments of the past fortnight or so, first she rehabilitated some key leaders who were sidelined by Jayalalitha when she was in power. Then she sacked 3 key officials from the chief minister's office. Then she called a meeting of the legislature party where she allegedly forced Paneerselvam to resign, and then Paneerselvam proposed her name for the legislature party leader. Was she trying to preempt the courts, as it were? Was she trying to ram things through? Do you think that's where the script began to go awry for her? Because the governor put his foot down and say, I am not going to be hustled into administering the oath of office and secrecy to you just yet.
Well, the SasiKala camp is definitely jittery the way the governor has decided to act on this matter. He has sought more time. He has not really sought time in the official sense, but he is taking his time in consulting whoever he wants to consult, legal luminaries and so on and so forth. But this has definitely given an advantage to Paneerselvam. And after all, if Paneerselvam now turns around and says that he resigned under pressure, I think it's not a very fair thing for him to say. After all, he was the guy who moved the process to first make her the General Secretary, the most powerful person in the party. And we've all known with Jayalalitha that, if you're the General Secretary, you're just about everything in that party, including the Chief Minister. And she and her family, I'm told her husband is a major player in this entire affair that is going on in Chennai. And the whole family of theirs, including some relatives, numbering about 10, I believe have got complete hold of this party. But now that is coming to break apart. Very serious cracks have developed and one is not sure whether the entire flock is with her really. If you leave them free wherever they are, I think that is the real test to see if they hang on there or they just split and run.
Indeed. Coming to you, Mr. Raju Ramachandran, if you look at the options before Governor Vidyasagar Rao as they stand at this moment, one, he needs to ascertain who enjoys majority support. They invite the legislature party leader to form the government, call for a floor test in the assembly, wait for disposal of the DA case against SasiKala, or let OPS continue as the caretaker chief minister, and finally, if nothing works out, as a last resort, impose president's rule. Now, under the circumstances, what do you attribute the delay on the part of the governor to? And do you buy this argument that the more the governor delays inviting or forming the next government, the more he is likely to be accused of abetting horse trading?
Yes, I'm afraid that charge would be laid at his door with some justification, if not actively abetting, passively enabling a situation where such horse trading is being resorted to. Now, if at this point of time, where the situation is significantly different from last Sunday, the governor feels that the support claimed by SasiKala may have withered away considerably or significantly, surely the governor can at least exercise one option, which is to ask all those MLAs to come before him, have them brought from the resort, assure them full safety and confidentiality, and find his own mechanism of finding out their sense, getting a sense of what they actually feel. And there the governor may, as someone suggested on one of the channels, Chennai itself has 2 former chief election commissioners residing there, to help him sound them out, to find out what is in their mind. And if he is genuinely satisfied, if he is satisfied even prima facie that the support which they pledged is no longer there, then he could creatively think and exercise other options like asking Paneerselvam, though someone who has resigned, in my view, can't take back a resignation. You are not a government employee who can take back a resignation, because events have then supervened because a new leader has been elected. But unorthodox tests can be applied. Now, the Supreme Court tried in different cases in UP in the 90s, recently in Uttarakhand, find some way of asking one side or the other
Right.
to prove its majority. That has to be done. You can't, and have we also thought of the possibility that the Supreme Court, assuming that it gives its verdict, the judges may not differ from each other. After all, we know about divided verdicts also.
True.
And the situation where therefore a matter has to be heard by a bench of 3 judges.
Right.
Have you ever thought of that possibility also when you're waiting only for the Supreme Court judgment to come?
But surely, Mr. Ramachandran, the governor is well within his rights to wait and watch. Presumably, he can't be hustled into inviting anybody to form the government, especially if the governor wants to avoid a repeat of the 2001 precedent when the then governor Fatima Bibi ignored the lower court ruling, invited her to form the government, and then later we saw what happened. So could this be a factor weighing on the mind of the governor even as we speak?
Ramesh, these two situations are qualitatively different.
Okay. So could you please explain why they are different?
Fatima Bibi ignored a judgment of conviction.
Right.
But what is the status of SasiKala today, or for that matter, the status of the late Jayalalitha?
So are you saying that irrespective of what the Supreme Court might deliver in the case, the governor should invite her at the first instance to form the government?
Ought to have invited her.
Okay.
Last Sunday, last Monday, last Tuesday.
Okay.
Not allow the situation.
But now the Supreme Court has indicated that it might not deliver its verdict before Tuesday. Do you think the governor is well within his rights even today as we speak to wait till the judgment is
well, if
available?
he's waited for so long and he says, I want to wait till Tuesday, one can't seriously fault him for waiting for one more day. But the point I was wanting to make was, unlike the 2001 situation, you are dealing with a person who is acquitted at present.
Right.
There is no constitutional bar on such a person being sworn in. The consequence of a reversal of acquittal would then follow. This is a quirk of democracy. It can happen. But in this situation where a judgment has not come and she continues to have the status of an acquitted person, if the judgment doesn't come by Tuesday or Wednesday, then surely the governor must take action.
Absolutely. Coming back to you, Mr. T.R. Ramachandran, as Mr. Raju Ramachandran was saying, that it's not as much an issue of constitutionality or legality as much an issue of propriety. The way she has handled the issue, the way she has sought to ram things through, the way she has sought to allegedly preempt the courts, as it were. Now, a fortnight or even a week ago, the numbers were clearly stacked in her favor. But today we see that both the arithmetic, the math and the masses seem to be siding with Paneerselvam. So where do you see things going from here?
I think that is one of the problems that the governor is facing in Chennai.
Right.
It's not a very easy proposition for him, realizing that he's come this far. In the very first instance, if he had decided to invite SasiKala and ask her to test her strength on the floor of the House, as per the SR Mumbai judgment, there is no way the governor can take a head count either in Raj Bhavan or anywhere else. So at the end of the day, that was the best proposition for him. Then we would have had a clear picture as to who really runs the roost.
Absolutely.
But if he had invited her at that point of time and the verdict had gone in her favor and not against her, when they took the vote of confidence on the floor of the House, then Mr. Paneerselvam would have been nowhere. So I think in some aspects, Mr. Paneerselvam has misjudged and has played his cards wrongly. Now that, as Mr. Raju Ramachandran very rightly said, having submitted his resignation, he might want to withdraw it, but he's in no position to withdraw it. After all, it has been accepted by the governor. So it's a very dicey situation, but it is not that there are no precedents to it. There are precedents to it, but you need somebody to act.
Right.
And I think the constitutional head in Chennai, if I may say this, has probably erred in his judgment so far. Sorry, maybe I'm going a little too far in this, but the confusion remains, and it gives a hand to the legislators to make up their minds where they really want to go in the present circumstances.
Absolutely. On that note, I want to quickly go across to my colleague in Chennai, Archit. Archit, we saw Sashikala Natarajan addressed the media for the second time in 2 days. Now, for someone who has been reticent, for her to address the media on 2 consecutive days and becoming overly aggressive or assertive, as it were, with the media persons there, and invoking the woman card, as it were, and saying that it's difficult for a woman to be in politics. Why invoke these issues now? What might be weighing on her mind tonight? We'll try to connect with Archit in a bit, but going back to you, Mr. T.R. Ramachandran, as we were discussing before, clearly politics at the end of the day is a game of numbers. And the arithmetic was in her favor till about very recently. But the desertions from her side over to the O. Pannirselvam side, clearly the momentum or the balance of power, as it were, shifting to his side. And he can rightfully claim to enjoy or begin to enjoy the support of a majority of the MLAs. Let's face it, he needs a minimum of 90 MLAs to be on his side to avoid the anti-defection law for that matter. Whereas Ms. Natarajan needs a minimum of 118 MLAs to be able to muster support and to form a government. So, is the momentum shifting away from Natarajan and in favor of Mr. Pannirselvam?
Well, I would have reasons to believe that, because every day some members are joining him, whether it's an MP, whether it's a legislator, whether it's a minister from the former Jayalalitha government. Yes, I would have reasons to believe that by and large the entire mood is shifting towards Pannirselvam. Now, the manner in which Pannirselvam has held fort,
right,
at least on 3 occasions, twice when Jayalalitha had to step down, and the 3rd time was when she was admitted in hospital. So, at the end of the day, most people would have reasons to believe that if Jayalalitha trusted him so much, obviously the one choice to pick was him and not Sasikala. But then the quirks of politics in Tamil Nadu is quite different from the manner it happens in other states,
sure,
particularly the Hindi heartland. So, it has its own pluses and minuses. But to imagine a woman who was a close confidant of Jayalalitha to be directly involved and become the general secretary of the party is a clear indication that she and her family had other ambitions for Sasikala, not just that she was a confidant of Jayalalitha. The way she is making a bid to not only come to power, be chief minister, but many in Tamil Nadu believe very firmly that she is making a bid to just about take on everything that Sasikala had, including the Poets Garden. Everybody knows Poets Garden is one of the most expensive kind of properties in Chennai. So, at the end of the day, I think there is, and several channels have reopened investigations into various of her business dealings, and many of it, from the looks of it and from the manner it is presented, is absolutely murky. So, I don't think she's going to have a very happy time even if she is elected as the chief minister. These things are not going to leave her for quite some time to come.
On that note, Mr. Ramachandran, I want to go quickly across to my colleague Archit Seshadri, who joins us from Chennai. Archit, give us your sense about what the political developments have been happening around you tonight as we speak. We saw Sasikala address the media for the 2nd time in 2 days, where she was particularly or overly aggressive with the media persons, at one point asking a reporter, which media are you from? So, does that betray her confidence, desperation? What's your sense, Archit?
Ramesh, good evening to you. Yeah, in fact, we're actually standing out right outside of Veda Nilayam. This is, of course, Jayalalitha's house. And, of course, where Sasikala is now staying. There is a huge media frenzy here, a huge lineup as people are waiting for Sasikala to return back from the Golden Bay Resort. So, interestingly, the 3rd time that she will address the media. In fact, we were standing doing our live report at the beginning of the newscast when we were told that she would be coming. So, we moved locations. But very interesting to see that this is the at least 3rd or 4th time that Sasikala will be talking to the media and explaining her sentiments. A completely different shift in dynamics from what was done earlier. In terms of her asking that reporter which media you're from, hard to read that, but I think that's also a question about accountability. Sometimes, the media is a little bit aggressive and hurls accusations. So, we can't read too much into that. But what we can, discern from all of this is that she is now neck to neck with Pannirselvam in terms of addressing and coming out, talking about what is happening. we're getting a quick glance of what is happening inside. They just opened the gate, so we can see a lot of people inside here waiting for SasiKala, just like the media is waiting. Quite, the whole wait and watch game continues. The blame game has already started, so now it's when will Governor Vidyasagar come down with a decision, and what will SasiKala say? I think that is the key question this hour.
Indeed, Archit. And what's the sense you're getting about the mood in the OPS camp, for instance, given the switch, MLAs and MPs switching sides from the SasiKala camp over to his side? So what's the latest you're picking up from your sources on the ground as to what's happening, what's brewing in the OPS camp?
Well, the OPS camp, I think, for the most part, has already been, they're very optimistic, cautiously optimistic, but certainly that sense of energy has been there throughout the week. But I think the momentum still is strong here. It doesn't mean that it's any weaker here. I think the crowds do build up here, especially when SasiKala comes in and out. One noticeable difference is, as we mentioned, Premier Selvam is much more open in doing these press statements and conferences with some of those MLAs and MPs that come out, with Madhusudan, for example, this week. SasiKala has not done that as much, at least until yesterday. So she's also now changing her strategy and how she's dealing with the media, reassuring people that she has kept the MLAs, they're safe and they're not being held hostage. She says all of that is part of the opposition, the DMK, to stir and split the party. So she's been very vocal about that. And then again, this is all part of her mission to make sure the governor comes down. The longer they wait, it gives the MLAs more time. So this could be her whole mission to prove that, they are safe, the MLAs are fine, and she's urging the governor. This could be her whole sense of pushing him to come down with a response.
Right, Archit. Please stay on while we go in for a short break. On that note, I want to thank Mr. Raju Ramachandran for joining us tonight on this discussion. More news on the other side when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back. The political drama in Tamil Nadu that began in December is yet to reach its climax. Here's a look at how the events have unfolded over the last 2 months. The Tamil Nadu drama, how events unfolded. December 6, O. Selvam takes oath as the Chief Minister. December 14, PIL filed in the Supreme Court seeking a CBI inquiry over Jaya's death. December 22, AIA-DMK MLAs request SasiKala to lead the party. December 29, SasiKala appointed ADMK General Secretary. December 31, SasiKala's first speech as ADMK General Secretary pledges to take forward the legacy of Amma. January 4, Madras High Court gets Jaya's discharge report from Apollo Hospital. February 5, SasiKala elected ADMK Legislature Party leader OPS resigns from the Chief Minister's post. February 6, doctors who oversaw Jaya's treatment reject conspiracy theories. February 7, SasiKala's oath delayed as governor gives no appointment. OPS visits Jaya Memorial, says he was forced to resign, opposes SasiKala. February 8, OPS blocks ADMK bank accounts. February 9, SasiKala accompanied by 10 ministers meets governor, stakes claim to form the government. February 9, ADMK Presidium Chairman E. Madhusudanan joins the OPS camp. SasiKala takes 130 ADMK MLAs to a resort in Kuvatur. February 10, SasiKala sacks Madhusudanan, announces K.A. Sengotayan as the new ADMK Presidium Chairman. February 11, 12, as many as 10 ADMK MPs come out in support of OPS. Joining me now is Beyond's correspondent Prasad Bhosekar, who joins us from Chennai. Prasad, there's a lot of political uncertainty in Tamil Nadu, no doubt. We don't know yet when the Supreme Court will deliver its verdict in the disproportionate assets case. We don't know what the next course of action would be from SasiKala's side, because she has threatened to go on a protest if the governor does not invite her to form the government. And on the other hand, we don't know yet whether the governor indeed has made up his mind or not. At the moment, he's waiting and watching. So what's the sense you're getting about where this might all be headed at this moment?
Right, Ramesh. What we are seeing is a typical Tamil pot boiler where we are witnessing action, drama and emotions. Right, in the evening there was a lot of action, drama and emotion when SasiKala went to Kovatur to meet her MLAs, and later when she addressed, she was emotional, and later she spoke to media and tried to assert herself as to how strong she is, and told MLAs to be united. And on the other hand, immediately after that, O. Selvam came before media and he said, hey, those are all crocodile tears. We see everything. But now the main point is what kind of decision governor is going to take, because what we hear from sources, the disproportionate asset case might not come tomorrow, or it might be delayed for a day or two. And on the other hand, the legal experts whom the governor is consulting, they are saying the governor is willing to wait till the verdict comes. But here the patience is running out, especially for SasiKala. She is getting desperate, and she has written letter, and the posturing she adopted today, what we saw, definitely she is firing warning shots. And on the other hand, Selvam is getting support, especially from MPs. Like the number is swelling, the number of MPs is swelling, though the number of MLAs is still to trickle in. But Selvam says more than 100 MLAs will definitely support him, because as he claims, they are being tortured. And one thing he said, for each MLA, 4 goons are being kept there to protect them, or to not to allow them to speak to media or slip away. Ramesh?
Indeed, Prasad, and while we wait for the Supreme Court to decide on the disproportionate assets case and for the governor to make up his mind one way or another, we also heard SasiKala speak about launching or going on a protest if things didn't go her way. Now, we don't know what she meant when she said that. We don't know whether she meant to seek legal remedy, or did she mean to go on an indefinite fast or something like that at the Jaya Memorial? What's the sense you are getting? I mean, are there fears, real fears of things going out of hand, violence, a law and order situation maybe? Prasad?
Right now, we don't see that scenario. Law and order is definitely under control here. That is being taken care. But we don't know like what will happen in the future. Definitely for Sasikala, if she does that, she is going to weaken her case. And MLAs, like those who are with her, there is a lot of pressure on them from their constituencies. And the way Pannirselvam is appealing to them, because remember, he also knows them very well. He worked with them and all of them are his colleagues. So he knows each and every MLA, their strengths or weaknesses and the circumstances around them. So he is trying his level best to appeal to their conscience and asking them to come over to his side. But they too have their compulsions or the way they are being kept there. On the other hand, Sasikala says everybody is there at their own will. They have been talking to families. So we are witnessing a lot of action and, political potboiler. This seems to be going to the wire.
Indeed, Prasad, at this point in time, I'll bring in my colleague Archit Seshadri back into the discussion. Archit, the question agitating some people's minds tonight is, if the Supreme Court delays the verdict, what does the governor do? What does Governor Vidyasagar Rao do? Suppose the SC case is delayed, then what?
Absolutely. I think the time is certainly running out, the pressure mounting in terms of what the governor will do. And I think there is a lot of pressure with when the governor will come down with that decision. So I think in terms of Vidyasagar Rao, he's being very careful, he's being very methodical before he makes whatever decision he has to make, sort of weighing out his legal options. So I think that's what you have to look into consideration. The other scenario also is how Sasikala is handling this. She was very quiet. She didn't really want to address the media until yesterday, and now she's addressed the media several times. So certainly her strategy is changing on how she's dealing with this. She's made several trips already now to the Golden Bay Resort where the MLAs are. In fact, we're waiting for another press conference by Sasikala shortly within the next 30 minutes. So as soon as we hear that, we'll, of course, cut to you guys. But we're sitting outside of the Veda Nilayam, Jayalalitha's house. So lots of anticipation as people try to find out, could this be the moment where she's facing that pressure? Is time ticking with every minute? More and more MLAs considering switching camps. So it is a lot of pressure for both Sasikala as well as the governor. The governor, as we mentioned, could wait till that verdict comes down. That could be Tuesday or Wednesday this week. So, as the wait-and-watch game continues, it seems that it gives up. And there's definitely more time to galvanize more of the MLAs. So time certainly could be running out. But again, Sasikala saying that she definitely has the time and she has the support of the MLAs.
Indeed, Archit. I'll ask you, Archit, and Prasad to stay on while I pose that same question to my guest in the studio, Mr. T.R. Ramachandran, a senior journalist. Mr. Ramachandran, like we're asking Archit there, if the Supreme Court delays the verdict in the DA case, what does or what can the governor do? Clearly, time is running out for all the stakeholders in this narrative, as it were.
I think, yes, a very difficult situation will arise if that happens. But I think tentatively the Supreme Court is expected to deliver its judgment on Tuesday, which is the 14th of February.
Right.
If you look at things at what's happening at the other end in Chennai, Sasikala is going to address another meet with the press, and doing it at this late hour would definitely indicate that she has some strategy in mind which she wants to announce. What that strategy is very difficult to say at this point of time. But I am sure it will be some agitational course against the governor that he has not really invited her to form the government and prove her majority on the floor of the House. I think in any which way you look at it, certain complications have arisen for the delay by the governor in taking one decision or the other. At this point of time, I guess the governor will have to wait and watch till the Supreme Court announces a decision. But as Mr. Raju Ramachandran, the legal luminary, did mention this, that suppose it goes against her or there is some other development to this whole thing as far as the Supreme Court is concerned. So I think that is something that you cannot really wish away. You have to keep that in mind, that is a possibility that can happen. But from the very looks of it, I do believe that there are efforts being made to create a little bit of unease among the legislators who are all, bunched and locked up in a resort outside of Chennai. So I think that uneasiness can lead to a lot of discomfiture as far as SasiKala is concerned.
Indeed.
But does the major question all over Tamil Nadu is SasiKala, despite being a confidant of Jayalalitha, having been with her for 3 decades, have the capability to be an administrator? And one of the biggest stumbling blocks for her is if she should contest from the same assembly segment in Chennai, which is R.K. Nagar. So one wonders whether she would be able to win a seat which she has to do to the assembly within 6 months of taking over as chief minister. On the other hand, with the groundswell of opinion building against her for various reasons and including the investigations that everyone else is doing now, I think, it could be a game that is very delicately poised as far as she is concerned.
Right.
And virtually at this point of time, the advantage is slipping out of the hands of Jayalalitha and her husband and family members, and probably coming over or decisively going over to Paneerselvam. How this works out and how this pans out in the next 48 to 72 hours remains to be seen.
Indeed. On that note, I want to go quickly across to my colleague Archit. Archit, there we heard Mr. T.R. Ramachandran saying that the advantage might be slipping away from Ms. Natarajan. But what are you hearing about a possible hunger strike by Ms. Natarajan? Will that, or is that going to change the equations going forward? What are you picking up, Archit?
Yeah, Ramesh, we haven't heard any of that here, at least on the ground, but that doesn't mean that those sentiments aren't out there. We do know that she had talked about a protest, and perhaps this could be her solution or her desperate push as the clock ticks. Every hour the clock ticks, it gives Paneerselvam's camp more time. So that certainly is adding mounting pressure as both the governor and as both the SasiKala have to make a decision. So that is sort of the lay of the land here on the ground. As we mentioned, we're still standing right outside of Veda Nilayam, where SasiKala is expected to be here. So, who knows? It just is an interesting switch of events and how she didn't want to talk at all, and now she is readily addressing the media multiple times on a given day. So I think that is certainly something that we can infer, that she wants to get her message across, whether it's through letters, whether it's through trying to meet the governor, or whether it's through the media, for us to channel whatever she has to say. She did that today at the Golden Bay Resort. She spoke yesterday right outside her house. So she's been very vocal about what messages she wants to get out there and put in the public. From our vantage point, we haven't heard anything about a hunger strike. We also did pick up some vibes that she may be going to the JM Memorial this weekend. We were actually camped out at Marina Beach several hours, but we didn't see her there. So she could be changing her strategy depending on the hour by hour, what is priority as the clock ticks for her. So that is the latest that we have. But certainly both the governor and SasiKala sort of facing the pressure, but Paneerselvam to a certain extent as well. But for him, because the MLAs are switching to his side and the MPs, he maybe not openly showing it as he builds that momentum. So I think that's just the difference in how each of them is sort of weighing out their options. So the biggest question we'll have to wait and watch is what happens once that verdict A comes and what the decision the governor will make. And after that decision, what will happen to the people on the ground? What will the people of Tamil Nadu do? I think that is the big question to see how all of this will unfold. The protests, the riots, we didn't see any of that before, but could that happen if one of these two end up becoming the chief minister? The opposite camps could come out in anger and riot. So I think that's the big question of the hour.
Right, Archit. Stay on. You spoke to a Chennama supporter earlier in the day. Let's just listen in.
Mr. Murugan, நீங்க ஏன் சின்னமா ஆசைப்படுறீங்க இந்த மாதிரி பொசிஷன் வரதுக்கு?
சின்னம்மா அம்மாவோட 33 வருஷமா இருந்துவியா வளர்ந்துவியா. அம்மானுடைய கஷ்ட நஷ்டத்தையெல்லாம் அறிஞ்சுவே சின்னம்மா தான். மத்தியிலெல்லாம் அறியமா இல்லை. இன்னைக்கு அவன் எல்லா பொறுப்பாலும் சேர்ந்து அம்மா சின்னம்மாவை கழக பொதுச் செயலாளர் தேர்ந்தெடுத்தாங்க. பொதுச் செயலாளர் கையில் தான் சிஎம்மும் இருக்கணும். ஏன்னா அம்மா இல்லை, அம்மா இருந்தீங்கன்னா அம்மா சின்னம்மா இதுக்கெல்லாம் ஆசைப்பட மாட்டாங்க. அவங்க ஆசைப்பட போகிறதும் இல்லை. அப்படி ஆசைப்பட்டிருந்தா சின்னம்மா ஒரு காலத்தில் துணை பொதுச் செயலராக இருப்பாங்க, துணை முதல்வராக இருப்பாங்க, எத்தனையோ பதவி வகிச்சிருப்பாங்க, என்னென்னமோ பண்ணியிருப்பாங்க. அம்மாவுக்கு நிகர அம்மா தான். அம்மா பிறகு யோசிக்கல என்ன, எல்லா எம்எல்ஏஸும் எல்லா மினிஸ்டரும் சேர்ந்து சின்னம்மா நீங்கள் வாங்க தலைமை ஏற்றா தான் அம்மா போல் நீங்கள் ஆட்சி திறம்பட செய்ய முடியும், மத்தியிலெல்லாம் ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாது அப்படின்ட்டு எல்லாம் ஒரு மனக்குரலாக சின்னம்மாவை தான் தேர்ந்தெடுத்தாங்க. சின்னம்மா தான் செய்யாம வரணும். மற்ற யாருமே செய்யாம வந்தால் அதை மக்கள் ஏற்றுக்கப்பட மாட்டாங்க.
Murugan is basically saying that, you know, Chinnamma was never somebody who really desired for power or really trying to take that seat. And if that was the case, she would have done so during Jayalalitha when she was alive. And she said that he basically said that all the MLAs came together and really wanted Chinnamma, SasiKala, to take on that seat and take on that throne. And she would be the rightful person to continue Jayalalitha's legacy. நீங்க பன்னீர்செல்வம் பத்தி என்ன நினைக்கிறீங்க? அது கொஞ்சம்
ஒரு கட்சிக்காரர் அம்மா 3 முறை முதல்வராகி பார்த்தாங்க. மீண்டும் அவர் வெளியே வந்துடலாம். வெளியே வரல. அம்மா சின்னம்மா பொதுச் செயலாளர் ஆகிட்டாங்க. அவரே வந்து சின்னம்மாவில் முதலமைச்சர் ஆகிட்டு தன்னுடைய பதவியை ராஜினாமா பண்ணணும். சிஎம் பதவியை ராஜினாமா பண்ணணும். அதுதான் தான் நம்ம ராஜினாமா பண்ணனா தலைமையில் வந்து எல்லா எம்எல்ஏஸாவும் ஓட்டு போட்டு சின்னம்மா ஒரு மணி தான் எடுத்தாங்க. சின்னம்மா தான் முதலமைச்சராக வரணும்னு அவரும் ஆசைப்பட்டார். இப்போ நான் ஒரு பிடிவாதமாக இருந்தால் இதில் ஒன்றும் பண்ண முடியாதுங்களா. சின்னம்மா தான் முதலமைச்சராக வரணும்னா எங்களுடைய மக்களுடைய கொடுங்க எல்லா மந்திரி எம்எல்ஏனுடைய வேண்டுகோளுமே.
He basically translating that, saying that, you know, ultimately it was a game that was a numbers game. Basically, when Chinnamma was elected as a legislative leader, she had the support of the MLAs, and now while Pannirselvam is aspiring for that, he didn't get the numbers, he didn't get the support or the backing or enough numbers. So he's saying that it really is Chinnamma who should rightfully get that seat. The race for the chief minister's position continues.
Mr. Ramachandran, there we heard the sentiments expressed by a supporter of SasiKala Natarajan. Now, you were referring earlier to the possible strategy that she could adopt going forward. Now, she's already spoken about a protest. We don't know what she meant, whether it's a legal remedy, a legal challenge, as it were, or will she want to go to the masses and maybe go on a hunger strike or an indefinite fast at the Jaya Memorial. We don't know yet. But looking ahead, what could be the possible strategies or probable strategies going forward in your estimation, which she might employ because the governor seems to be in no hurry to invite her just yet?
Well, Ramesh, the fact is the first time that she went to meet the legislators in the resort, she did probably have an idea of driving back to the Raj Bhavan to parade them in front of the governor. The governor would not have any of it because he had made it very clear that he would like to meet only 10 members of each of the 2 delegations, and he didn't want a crowd to be assembled anywhere at all. Well, I think she's so disappointed with Raj Bhavan that what she'd probably like to do is go with them and stand before the Raj Bhavan and shout a few slogans against the governor or whatever else. But I think you need to really, you know, do something which will whip up passions and emotions among the so-called supporters that she has all over the state. And I don't think they can be in very large numbers. I think at the end of the day, Ramesh, whoever the governor chooses and tells them that you be the chief minister and prove your majority on the floor of the house, this flock will, you know, which has been with Pannirselvam or which has been with SasiKala, whoever has been invited to form the government will all, you know, step aside and come to this side. So this is a game which is very delicately poised.
So this show of strength, as it were, could be a mirage, right?
Well, I think
it could be here one moment and not the other moment.
Absolutely. It can shift to the other side by the time you bat an eyelid. I think that is also the problem the governor is facing, knowing the realities on the ground and how this sand can shift, you know, one way or the other by the time you really come to know of it. So I think he needs to be completely assured of what the situation is like.
Absolutely.
So I think till he really, you know, it doesn't take even Pannirselvam very long if he has the requisite numbers to go and tell the governor that please invite him to form the government.
Right.
So that is where the tricky situation is.
Sure.
And it's very difficult, I'm telling you, if you take out these people who are with SasiKala, leave them free for a day and you will see what bedlam goes on in that place. So it's a dicey situation for both the people. But Pannirselvam does have a upper hand. He's been a politician. He joined the party in '87. He's been with Jayalalitha all this while. Jayalalitha obviously trusts him more. And I think in the few days that he's been chief minister after her death on December 5th, he has somehow found that people are taking to him. He's getting the support. And whatever little administration he did for that limited period seems to have won him kudos.
Sure.
So I think one will have to really wait and watch.
Absolutely. Prasad, they're coming to you now. There you heard Mr. Ramachandran speak about how Mr. Pannirselvam has the upper hand as things stand now. And you spoke earlier about how SasiKala had served warning shots at not only the governor but the people at large. Now, let's talk a bit about the desertions coming from the SasiKala camp over to the Paneerselvam camp. You spoke to Pandya Rajan yesterday, in which he said that the trickle will become a torrent. What are you picking up from your sources on the ground as to where things lie? Where does the initiative lie, even as we speak?
Right, Ramesh. SasiKala today claimed support of 129 MLAs, but in 24 hours she was there twice. So somewhere she knows she's scared MLAs might slip away the way MPs are going. So she wants to keep the flock together and hold them till the swearing in or till governor invites her. But that's taking very long, and that's making her really desperate. On the other hand, Paneerselvam has nothing to lose now, everything to gain. Like each and every MLA or MP is addition to him, and supporters always cheer him up whenever there is a new joining.
Indeed, Prasad. Coming to you, Archit, is governance taking a hit in all of this? I mean, what's the sense you're getting from being on the ground and reporting from Chennai? Where does governance figure in all of this? Because of the political uncertainty, we're given to understand that there is dissonance between the administration as of now, the caretaker chief minister and the bureaucracy. Nobody knows what's happening. What's your sense, Archit?
Absolutely. I mean, for a case in point with regards to that, this morning, we saw that situation where a former and ex-AIDMK member was killed because of the bureaucracy situation. There was a situation that was in the Tiruvannamalai district. That just goes to show the lack of leadership and how that is resonating with different parts of Tamil Nadu. For several months now, Tamil Nadu has not had a stable chief minister. And I say stable because Paneerselvam was there, but there was sort of that back and forth, especially the time during when Jayalalitha was in the hospital. And then after she died, then he was the chief minister. And then fast forward to last week when SasiKala was then elected the legislative leader. So there's been a lot of back and forth with what has been going on. So I think that is the big confusion. The governor certainly has a lot to deal with, a lot of pressure on his hands on how he will decide to deal with the state of Tamil Nadu politics. So the governor has to weigh out his options. And once he does weigh out his options, he'll have to be careful on how he comes across and releases that information. In the meantime, both we see Paneerselvam and SasiKala doing whatever they can to assure and convince the governor that they are the right pick. We've seen Paneerselvam address the media several times, and we've seen SasiKala being rather quiet, but then of late being much more media friendly, going and visiting those MLAs, putting those rumors to rest about them being held hostage, and saying that the party is united, that she has the support, and all of this is perpetuated by the DMK, the opposition. So a very different strategy, but certainly, yes, the governor is not going to come down until that verdict comes in. That's what we're hearing. And in the meantime, we'll have to wait and watch to see what SasiKala will do. What other tricks does she have up her sleeve? Will she do that protest, and what type of a protest? So that is a vibe and sentiment that we are getting on the ground. Again, we're still waiting outside of Veda Nilayam, where she is living. This is Jayalalitha's former house at Poe's Garden. Quite a bit of a media frenzy here, a huge group gathered outside along with her supporters. So we are waiting to find out what she'll say. And of course, once we find out, we'll bring it live to you.
Right, Archit. Mr. Ramachandran, you've been following Tamil Nadu politics for a long, long time now. A revolt like this was unimaginable till very recently, I mean, especially during Jayalalitha's time. So what does that say to you or speak to you about the personalities of SasiKala Natarajan on the one hand and Paneerselvam on the other? And where does ADMK go from here?
ADMK finds itself in a very difficult situation.
Right.
We need to understand, Ramesh, that there is no second line leadership. It was never promoted. It was never encouraged because Jayalalitha ran the party, with an iron will, with a very tight fist and an iron will. And she never allowed any person to be groomed also as second in line. So in that context, there's a huge vacuum. Everybody knew the moment Jayalalitha goes. That is how SasiKala and her family, including her husband, have been able to take advantage of this fluid situation. And SasiKala, of course, knew just about everything about Amma because she's been with her for 3 decades. I think on one side, because she had the trust of Paneerselvam also, Paneerselvam, I think in the initial stages went out of his way to even propose a name to be the general secretary of the party. I think that is the biggest faux pas he committed, because once you do a thing like that, in the AIDMK hierarchy, the General Secretary is just about everything, including the Chief Minister. And subsequently, he committed a major faux pas by submitting his resignation under pressure or whatever the reason may be. I think that is where the problem really lies for him. So it's not an easy way out for either of them. And on the other hand, you know, they really have to deal with a governor in Raj Bhavan who is not willing to take any kind of risks at this point of time. He wants the air to be cleared, and then he will decide how to move forward.
On that note, Mr. Ramachandran, thank you so much for taking part in the discussion tonight. I also want to thank my colleague Archit Seshadri and Prasad Bhosekar joining us tonight from Chennai. With that, it's a wrap on this bulletin, but news continues here on WION. You can catch all the latest updates on our social media, mobile and digital platforms. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.